as you heard, the federal government has been meeting with the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to negotiate for the suspension of the strike, which is in its second day today. We are joined now by Arise News analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Thank you.
I wonder how this strike is affecting you so far, but there's so much to unpack. First, this fire brigade approach to resolving the NLC crisis. All of a sudden, the Senate is weighing in, the House of Reps, the National Security Advisor, everybody seems to be weighing in. Why wait till now?
I think,
what exactly,
better late than never, but you're right. I mean, when NLC TUC gave this indication clearly, and even went to picket or show some threat to the airport, the National Assembly, the Senate, House of Reps should have been clearly come out smoking. I said, look, you know what, let's mediate. If you look at how much we've lost in these 2 days, even not 100% compliance, but at least very significant compliance across states, that's avoidable waste. Okay. Again, the question, and again, I have to commend Nuhu Ribadu and NSA has been extremely responsive. That's what leadership should be. I've seen several issues as engaged from stories we got from the NLC themselves. Have been calling the president himself. When this happened, he was one who made a call.
Sorry to cut you. Speaking of which, talking about being responsive, news just coming in has it that the strike has just been called off by organized labor after that meeting you saw earlier before the break. The NLC and the TUC has called off the industrial action owing to the conversation they had with the government. I think you can just write on that because you spoke specifically talking about being proactive.
Yeah, no, but that's been extremely good. And that's it. The modern governance is not about being brutish, being arrogant. It's actually about changing minds. Industrial dispute is an opportunity for government to convince labor. This stereotyping that labor people are, recalcitrant, very bullish guys, is not true. So the Bible shows that it's a lie. You can actually talk to them. Now look at the issue. Let's forget about other issues. That NLC president was beaten in a state by persons. The first thing would have happened, the IG would have got people arrested. Even if it was ordinary citizen. I mean, it's criminal to batter anybody. Talk less of the president of the largest union in Africa. Now, you get him battered, the IG would have, by now, he will be giving you hourly reports. We've arrested X, we've taken evidence from him, statements from them. They mentioned the SA to the governor of Imo State, Chinas and Waneri.
So we're not talking about of unknown persons now?
This is not unknown government. Ugochine, honorable member, brilliant guy, he says, and I watched that one with Rochas, when this same person manhandled him. Now, Governor Hope Uzodinma says, I'm the chief security officer. And that's right. His first job is to say, who did this? He would have said, forget the other issues. By the way, even if Ajero was involved in politics, let's assume that's legitimate preoccupation, that's not criminality. So let's even not go to the parts of it. The real responsible line of leadership is to say, we have got the guys, this is the people, and the Labour have no reason to go to. So people say, why should Labour now nationalize this crisis? This is the principle of Labour. So in my view, avoidable strike, responsibility lies with government and the Inspector General of Police. Don't forget that crime prevention and investigation is a federal responsibility, the police. So even if it happens in local government area, they mentioned area commander who asked the security. Ajero had about 20 policemen with him because he knew this could happen, wrote to the IG to provide security, wrote to the DG of SSS, went with about 10 police officers, with 6 naval officers. They were ordered to stay back. And the area commander took him, asked those people to stay away, and they hand over to the TUC to beat him up. So the first thing should have happened is that investigation. So there's some people irresponsibly protecting somebody and then causing the whole nation to suffer. So if not for Ribadu's initiative and assurances, it would have been stuck in a strike that shouldn't have happened.
By the way, the same Ribadu came out yesterday telling Nigerians that, well, we're practically in a bankrupt situation right now.
So shouldn't you have a strike?
By the way. So I mean, talking about the leadership and leading from the front that you talk about there. Right. So
I actually wanted us to draw the strike has been called off. But before we go into talking about the economy, because I wanted to weigh in on that before you leave. Now, it's amazing that for the very first time, again, people are getting to hear names of these people who manhandled the NLC president. And now I'm bringing this to the doorstep of the IG. The only thing he did at that point in time was listening to the call for the transfer of the CP in that particular state. So, isn't this a failure of the police, knowing full well that an individual has been fingered and mentioned not once, not twice, as being responsible for this?
It's connivance, complicity, and corruption. Let me tell you, Tiger Base at the government house. The government house is not a police station. You see, it's a generic problem of the Nigerian police. The way police has been personalized and made to become part of governors. If you look at police officers, police stations, the instructions from the governor's office overrides. So the idea is that this IG should now restore the police. The police should be, and that's why you have look at electoral violence. The story is always about somebody to carry the police officers. You saw the video of the civil defense lamenting, mentioned the name expressly, get the same name, that he took police officers and disarmed them. This is recklessness, anarchy, and like Ugochine says, it doesn't speak well of a government that is trying to show its real business, attract investors. You can't tell people to come to subnational economies when those subnational economies, the governors and his aides could actually subvert rule of law. Yeah. So I think that the IG owes a responsibility. Dismantle that Tiger Base at the government house. The government house is not a police station. The governor has his aides, security assigned to him. They shouldn't consider police decks in the government house and where they take people. This is not the first, second, or the third. So I think that I will hold the Inspector General of Police responsible by the federal government for this strike. It was needless. Right. What the Rwanda has done, if they have done that over time, Labour has no reason to look. Going to strike weakens Labour itself, weakens the economy. Strike it's a last resort tool. It shouldn't be used for things that rule-based process can deal with.
And speaking of which, how do you think all of this, with the calling off of the strike now by the NLC and TUC, how will it impact calls for strikes, going forward in future, especially when there are very serious issues on the table?
I think that's why I use the word weakens. Yeah. I mean, strikes should be rarely used. But again, you see, Labour was forced. This is not good. You see, Nigerian government should have what we call corporatist policy. If you look at the Oxfam report on poverty, the lack of labor right is critical to why we have poverty. They should see labor as a governing partner. Labor should be good on strike. Government should meet with labor. Labor should discuss with government and work together. They should be working against themselves. And the only way they can work together is for these governors and institutions to have a sense that governance is not about being brutish. I mean, look at the way Rwanda has handled this matter. So I agree with you. Labor is forced into these strikes. It's not good for labor. It's not good for the economy.
And I want to jump on the Oxfam report, which speaks to working together.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to what the same Ribado has told the country. If we're talking about a country that is struggling in terms of paucity of funds, or let's use this word, almost bankrupt, then we shouldn't be talking about going on strike.
Absolutely.
It then behoves on the government to always know when to move and act, because they gave 2 weeks and no one said anything, not the National Assembly, not the federal government, until the strike.
Failure, and National Assembly particularly. I mean, National Assembly are the people who care about their people. If you get to him or elsewhere, you see reports about small businesses choking because of light issue. So a responsible National Assembly will be the first to call these guys, not even the governor, because this is a case between Labour and executive, so to say. National Assembly will weigh in. In fact, the best partner of Labour should be the National Assembly. In the past, we have seen House committees, Senate committees being proactive. They call Labour, they will lead Labour to the president and get the result. So let's see more leadership. Leadership is not about having 160 million vehicles driving. Leadership is about that. Look at everybody's clout. He's shown clout.
Where do we go from here now? Where does Nigeria go from here? Where does Labour go from here? The strike has been called off. Yes. But the issues that led to the strike are still very
so
much
where
there.
To go is
so
where,
how do you resolve those issues so we're not back here?
Is where Ugochine said. Deal with the underlying issue. Accountability. Who beat up Joajero must be tried, prosecuted according to law. There's no strike or no strike that should obscure the fact that a citizen, a leader of, if a president of NLC with his clout and power could be so treated. Imagine what journalists who contravene, who offend government, who speak against Imo State government will be going through. There was a case of Nosonkwa, who was literally bungled and brought here. The same Tiger Base. First, the IG should dissolve that. Why should, the first question, they should explain to us why a government house, whether in Nimo or Anambra or Sokoto or Meduguri or Gombe, should have a police station. You see, that's the point. The governor is not a king. This is a democracy. The police is for the people. The police is not for governors. So the first thing nobody will do as a matter of national security. You see, NSAS was a response to impunity, the unfair policing, criminal policing.
Right.
We should get police back to be responsible. Police should second-guess governors. No governor cannot ask a police officer to go and injure somebody who did nothing. No, we can't do that.
Clearly, I think listening to you, it then means that the Tiger base looks like another SARS.
Absolutely.
We'd like to thank you for your time, Dr. Sam Amadi, and we do hope that the police will weigh in on that.